Alright, so today is January 21st, 2025, and this is the Open Space Committee calling the meeting to order. So we have an agenda. The first item is citizen queries. There is none. And so the next would be to review the meeting minutes that Mike did an excellent job typing up. That was a lot of material this time, and you got it out quick.
Trying.
Yeah.
Trying.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, I wanted to add my compliments because I thought, given what happened and et cetera, that you really did a great job of not getting lost in the weeds, which was...
Yeah, I tried to, keep it as concise as I could and hit the high points.
Yep.
Right, and I think we're actually sort of kind to the whole of that beginning discussion because it was a little ragged in a number of ways, Anyway, but it was a great job because I didn't envy you having to do it.
Yeah, thank you, Mike.
Yep, that's a great job.
I didn't see any needed edits myself.
I didn't. You did a good job.
Right, so I propose that we accept the minutes as submitted.
I will second that.
And everybody's in favor, including Mike.
I am.
Okay. Flying through this one. So,
Yeah.
the next is the open space recreation plan update. And to review the previous plan and set action items. So,
Yeah, so this we just kind of put on there as a general item to welcome Sadie Woodward, who's going to be helping the committee and the town out with the open space rec plan update. Started today. We've had a little bit of a transition period. We're all upstairs now. All our offices are down the hall, and technology is there's still some glitches, but we're getting there. So we have a workstation for interns, and Martha,
wow.
when she's working on zoning, special projects, and any other future sort of part-time or temporary staff. So it's really nice to have a little more space, and great to have you here.
Yeah, good to be here.
So what's going on downstairs? Is the HVAC means they have no heat or something?
There's been no heat downstairs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just, saw the thing on the website. And I guess today it isn't operating either.
I think that they got the part and it's working again, but they wanted to have it run a day before moving everybody back.
Right.
Smart.
So, it's been cold, yeah. Yeah, so, anyway, we've had issues with the heating at our house as well, so glad that that'll all be set up again. But yeah, in general, it's great. We have, Daniel has an assistant planner, has an office, I have an office, I have a meeting table in the office. We have some other meeting rooms up here, so and all of land use is up here. Board of Health, building, conservation, zoning, planning, town administrator. It's a lot.
So has been a sort of general reset from what was in the past or what? I'm trying to figure out why this is, or is it just that because you were downstairs, right?
All those offices I just named moved up here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To have more space and better set up space, basically.
Yeah. Okay. No, I was just wondering.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been a busy week, but things are good, and just super excited to have Sadie. I think her sort of regular day in the office will be Tuesdays, we think. Might be flexible, and then sometime left over to do site visits or get outside for meetings with MVPC or other meetings, as needed. So I kind of, like, we've sort of done the basic overview, but we haven't really dived into, like, all right, here we go. So hoping we can just get, consensus and input tonight on sort of helping Sadie. She's sort of like get in the lay of the land, and I'll let you sort of talk about, your thoughts so far, but just kind of looking at the workbook and all the work that's been done before and just getting it going.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah. I was looking at some of the old meeting minutes, and it seemed like you guys had talked about everyone's responsibilities a long time ago. Does that still hold what was talked about a while ago?
In my mind, it does. We basically started, it was like April or something, it was ways back, and we all kind of carved it up, the old plan, and volunteered to do sections. So that was actually gonna be one of my, right off the bat, sections, is go back, and I was looking for the minutes, and I need to really make one folder for all our minutes, because they're getting a little bit scattered now. But maybe in the minutes, we said who was gonna do what.
Look back and check that.
Yeah, because
I
I'd like
think
to.
we found that, right?
I was able to find one instance where people were kind of like, I'll do this. I think it said that Mike would do section 5, which is
Yeah, the inventory.
inventory of lands of conservation and recreational interest, and then David had already started working on a survey draft,
Right.
Yeah.
which, yeah, and then Bill and Christina would do 4, which is the environmental inventory and analysis. Does that all sound
Yep.
like where we left off?
Yep.
Okay.
I know that for us anyways, that was right. I went back to my notes, and I had 4 for us. So.
Awesome.
Which one was David's? Try to incorporate that in
The
the notes.
public survey, which doesn't really
Yeah,
have a designated
that's right.
section, but it's just, yeah.
That's right.
And then I think
Thanks.
Jim had sort of raised his hand for section 3, which I forget what that,
It's the community setting section.
okay. Is that like just descriptive?
I think
Stuff?
so,
Okay.
Regional context, history, which I was talking to you about before, like population characteristics, growth and development patterns,
Got it. Yeah.
and then like the sports and recreation section as well.
Okay.
I know last meeting was a little chaotic coming out of the big public discussion and whatnot, but I know I'd mentioned that, between the recent master plan, the,
Hazard mitigation.
thank you, the hazard mitigation
Yeah.
plan, the housing plan, all that stuff, that section especially, there might be a lot of info already that can just be
Yeah,
plucked.
right.
And maybe even in some of the other sections as well too.
Mhm.
So it'd be good to see what
Yeah.
we can kind of pull.
Yeah, and I've been working today on, I was just started on section 3 of looking at what could just be, like, the history of the community isn't really gonna change
Yeah,
in
exactly.
20 years, so I just was starting to look at what could just be plucked from the old plan. But you were saying the master plan?
Yeah, because that's pretty recent too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that should have a lot of that updated,
Mhm.
like
Yep.
maybe growth and
A lot of
development patterns,
demographics,
a lot of
yeah.
demographic stuff. She's probably gonna find in that,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so we don't have to go and
Yeah,
rediscover that information,
Right,
so to
okay.
speak.
makes sense.
So in terms of the sections that are sort of just a lot of text that need updating, I don't know if you guys, maybe say you could reach out individually with each of you, or we could talk a little about the best way to move forward on that. I gave her the Word document of the old plan, so we can just chunk out section 4, and then just have a document that it gets, you know, shared or worked on. If we did Google Docs, I think I'm not gonna suggest we go towards Google Docs, although that would make things a lot easier, but I think it might be better if like each of you kinda like work one-on-one with Sadie.
Sure.
Her email's gonna be planning.intern@townofnewbury, so it's a town email, and so just working back and forth in terms of like, just edits, you know,
Yeah.
like that seems like low hanging fruit. So that's a good place to start to kind of get some action.
You have access to, you have our email addresses from being in the,
I can make
Yeah.
sure, yeah. Oh, right, yeah, and some of the agenda emails and stuff. Well, she just got her email today, so I'll make sure she has all your
sorry.
emails.
So, like,
Sure. Yeah.
sorry, here in the town, do you use a Microsoft platform or a Google platform, or,
Microsoft.
and so, but like a SharePoint document, you think it'd be easier just to go Word?
We don't have a SharePoint or
Okay.
anything. We don't have shared
Alright,
documents.
yeah, okay.
Except
gotcha.
for everyone accessing the folders internally, but, yeah,
Okay. So then it's really gonna be up to Sadie
it might
to,
just be back and forth.
yeah, so we'll send you edits, we'll let you maintain a master document, I
Sure,
guess,
yeah.
that way.
That sounds good.
And then, in terms of sections, so, I was thinking if everybody has their sections, and as you're starting to go through there, if there's questions, like, we're supposed to be the experts, although,
yeah.
you know, more or less, that may be true, but, I mean, then you'll know what sections, and you'll have a list of who to go to. And then we can either work separately, and then, I guess, then get together, and I'm more available, I don't have to only work Tuesdays too. So if like you were working, I don't know, are you only gonna work on this on Tuesdays, or?
Well, Tuesday is my definite plan right now, but I'm gonna work here and there other days during the week, so I'm flexible.
Okay, so we could work on our sections, send you some edits, and you can start putting them
Sounds
in. Yeah?
good. Yeah.
Do you want, just to like clear next steps, but do you want Sadie to like start, like make a file that's like section 3, section 4, 2025, and then work on it and then send it to you? Or do you guys have anything that you've already started?
Well, we have edits for sure.
Yeah.
Way back when we started this,
I know you spent some time on it.
yeah, we
Yeah.
cranked through it, but there's a lot of just like circle, like, is this still true? Like, it's gonna take work on our part to go back and really update these. I'm fine at taking like a first crack at it on our section, and then giving that to you, and you can review it, or we all can review it, maybe,
Yeah,
and then go that way.
so she could get you the Word doc with all that text in it, and then
Definitely.
you can just redline it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we're gonna go in, we'll do track changes, and, probably go that way,
Sounds good.
yeah.
That'd be great.
And then also in the meantime, there's plenty in here that, you could start going through, there's like tables and stuff that could be updated.
Yeah.
And the other big thing is, right, working with Merrimack Valley, because
Yeah.
when we wrote the scope of work, I think we called out some things that they might be useful, they'd be a great resource for it.
Yeah.
So where does that stand in terms of our use or not of MVPC at this point?
So I saw Adrian Lennon at a meeting last week and said, we're getting going, like, we're ready to, connect with you again. So there haven't been any other meetings because we've been waiting for Sadie to start. So I think it would be helpful tonight to, updating the text that we have is like one bucket, but I feel like the other buckets are maps, that's big, and then the public input, right, the public survey, because we know that's a process that the state pays a fair amount of attention to. So that's what we need to get our heads around, the first steps in terms of what the public outreach process is gonna be.
Does the survey need to be done before we really start doing a lot of writing? Because isn't that the survey intent to help inform? I mean, I'm
Well,
just thinking like some of the stuff.
Yeah, well, okay, that was a question I had, because I was looking at, I think this was, I'm trying to figure out what document this is actually. I can't remember whether this is something that we got,
Yeah.
did we get this from them as a sample of what they sent to Georgetown? Does this ring a bell?
Well, we submitted a timeline with our grant application.
Yeah.
And this is.
I don't know which one you have in your hand, but
I think he's looking at what he
It
got
says,
back for school.
yeah.
I don't remember the
It's MVPC anticipates working on the DC, whatever it is, S recommended timeline for this plan update. I
I think
think it
it's
was.
in here though. I think
Yeah.
it's from the workbook.
Yeah.
Is this from the workbook or is this from NVPC?
MVPC took it from the workbook.
Oh, that explains it,
Um,
I think.
it's just the process of the actual putting.
Does that look
Oh,
familiar?
I don't know if I've seen this.
I have a feeling that's a document actually that came from MVPC.
It's the same, what I'm saying is it's in the workbook.
Oh, it's
and
in, oh, they
MVPC
used it, okay, all right, so if I can
Not
have it
bad,
back,
yeah.
thank you. Okay, what puzzles me about this is, it's just, you might as well learn right out of the box. I have a very low opinion of the workbook and how it's put together, and would point out once again that they have not revised it in the last decade,
Right.
and it's much like it was. If they have, frankly, not much to it, and it actually is 1990s.
Okay.
And even actually before that, because a lot of it was cribbed from the Metropolitan, from MAPSI, okay? Because they had done this stuff earlier. So, okay, what puzzles me is that if you look down under the analyzing the data, okay, they show the public survey being conducted in August, which is 8 months after the process began. And I, I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me, because a great deal of what you're looking at in terms of analysis, in terms of need, developing analysis of needs, doesn't have to have all of the correct data inputs first, particularly where you are essentially revising an existing plan, because communities like ours don't change that much in the course of even a decade, and actually in our case probably in the course of 2 or 3. So,
I
but
do think there's some public input stuff starting in January though. Develop the public participation programs, schedule events, publicize the project early and often. So they are identifying that
right.
there's some component of public participation that starts right at the get-go, but then that survey is,
But that's, yeah, I would say
Later.
public participation is one thing, survey is something, to my head anyway, something very different.
yeah.
Or potentially very different, put it that way. And so both of those things sort of tie together, but they're so separated, plus,
Right.
I'm not saying we're using this necessarily as a template. I really wouldn't in many ways. But I guess where my thought is going is that we need, in fact, fairly quickly to get something together, ready to go, and a way to do it, because otherwise the direction in which we go, the kinds of data that we find is really germane to the issues. It's like going out and, holding your hands out and hoping the rain will hit them, kind of thing, in the sense that you have all this data and where should you be focused in the data? And I think the survey, in many ways, serves as in a sense, the template for the kind of data that now we need to scrutinize. And in many cases, we may find that it's much the same. But also, I think the other thing which has struck me, I had gone through the sections in the one that was done in 2010, okay? And there are sections 7, 8, which is the analysis of needs, and what comes after that?
Goals and objectives.
Okay, the goals and objectives, and then the actual action plan, okay?
Okay.
And if you go through that, one of the things that stands out is, okay, given knowing what's happened in the community in the last decade or so, which those of us who live there do, okay, one of the things you find out is what stuff is really germane to Newbury, whereas a lot of the other stuff really isn't. Okay, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And I've pulled out a bunch of things which clearly we planned to do and we either didn't do, in fact most of them we didn't do, or something else happened, and etc. In other words, I reviewed that on the basis of, in 2010, what were the goals? And a number of things stand out, and I know that this will sound like a squeaky door to Kristen, but one of the things that stands out is there are a number of, I shouldn't say community groups, government groups, okay, meaning the Conservation Commission, the Select Board, etc., who were designated in that plan as being active players, if not initiators. And so many of those items didn't happen partly because those groups didn't get involved in the plan. In fact, some of them probably don't even know what they're supposed to be doing in relation to the plan. So to me, where this goes is if we look at what kind of data we expect to be looking to get through a survey, and then we look at what happened, it's more than 10 years ago now, it's almost 15 years ago. In fact, the survey, I think, was actually done, did I see a date on something in 1999, for God's sake? Some of the survey numbers they quoted. Yeah. So those are, I think, are the kind of, what shall I call them? Well, they're the items which will change over time as you get to learn more about what the community thought about itself 15 years ago, and as we get the data, what the community thinks about itself or doesn't, as the case may be, because that's another thing, is to find out, that there weren't that many responses. And in fact, and I can say this because I embarrassingly remembered here that I chaired the last meeting where they had this post-plan, what was it? Essentially, it was the plan was presented, and we had a public meeting, and then we went through, and I got stuck with the job of chairing that meeting, and it's all in some minutes somewhere. It makes my flesh crawl, but anyway.
I call them listening sessions.
Yes, or
Right.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know who was listening to who. So.
Yeah.
Right. Anyway, but I guess what I'm concerned about is that we understand that some of these things are very dynamic and will probably change your focus a little bit as things evolve.
Right.
And other stuff, it really hasn't. I mean, not that much has changed.
Right.
The major change, I think, is the thing that continues to trouble me, and I don't know how we tackle this, and that is we now have a recreation area that didn't exist in 2010, essentially. It existed as a place, but there was nothing there. The Manta
Central
Fields
Street, yeah.
had happened in terms of us acquiring it, but not in terms of putting stuff there. And so that's one thing. That has spawned a much more active and responsible recreation committee that has a very considerable budget when you think about it, which is totally independent of the town budget. In other words, they generate their own funds. It doesn't come out of the taxes. However,
Rent the fields.
right, they've been blessed, right, with COVID money, right? The playground for the kids, this
I think that was
$250,000 top lot.
ARPA funds.
All I can say is, we better have a bunch of bright tots after all that kind of money. Anyway, I don't know, what's your impression of
Well,
that issue?
I would just mention that I ran into David Brohl, who's either chair or co-chair of the rec committee a week and a half ago, and just mentioned to him, and I think he might have missed the meeting that you attended with them.
Yeah, he wasn't there, yeah.
So, but he knew about it and had,
Right.
heard whatever, knew that this was in the works, updating the plan, but I was letting him know that we were hiring some assistants and gonna move forward, and so he's very receptive to just making sure the rec committee stays involved, however that makes sense. They are busy with a lot of just sort of ongoing activities and work, but I think they're, very interested in getting the plan updated because it does enable the town to be eligible for grants and, just in general provides more direction for some of their bigger projects moving forward. But they've been very focused on that one property. And I think, they're interested in partnering with the Open Space Committee to just make sure the action items that are set forward cover recreation and, open space activities. So we just kind of touch base about things. They meet monthly. They might even, I think they're meeting tomorrow, possibly. So, yeah, all your points are good, David. I think there's static things, and then there's this sort of evolution and creation of what's really we should be focusing on, which is the action plan, based on community input. I think one thing, back to your other question about how Merrimack Valley Planning Commission is involved, I do think we should try to get a meeting with Adrienne set up soon, who's the director of the environmental program, because she has done this work with a lot of towns, and so just to like get her guidance on the public outreach in particular, and then the maps. Like those are the two
Mm-hmm.
areas of work that I see Merrimack Valley planning being most critical and helpful. So,
You set up that meeting, I don't know if we can attend too, but I wouldn't mind being involved, because I really don't know a whole lot about.
Yeah.
Just, we had CC come and give us a talk, a presentation.
right,
So, so if it helps, even
yeah,
be part of that,
okay.
carve some time out in my week.
I
Excuse me.
am sure we could invite her to come to a meeting here. That would probably take longer to, right? That'll be at least a month. We could try it for earlier. So yeah, thank you. I think it would definitely be helpful, and I'm sure it would be helpful for Sadie and me to have, just to have us there, not to have to like report back out.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
practically
Part
speaking,
of the
okay,
discussion.
we have just finished a master plan, right?
Yes. The town, yeah.
The major data in the master plan in terms of, all the number stuff came from came from MVPC, most of it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, doesn't it make
Yeah.
sense, since they are familiar with master plans, open space plans, Newbury,
Mhm.
to think about saying to them, given, now, and not necessarily just her, but I think, the data crunching people,
Mhm.
given what they know, most of the data probably that is currently necessary for an open space plan,
Mhm.
okay, is in almost in the right form in their files for it just to drop right into the plan. And also, in all probability, they know where there has been any kind of significant change, right?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't help the town with the last open space plan, so they don't have some format to just put updates in.
No, but
the maps they have.
wait, where did the consultant get all the data from? She didn't,
For the maps?
but she also got it from them, from their records,
Yeah, I
right?
just
From
wasn't
their
sure which
information.
data you were talking about.
Well, all the stuff that's about community profiles and all those kinds of things,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is made up of data which they have to have,
Yeah, all the demographics and all
Yes,
that.
right, yeah. right?
Yeah, and we have a final housing production plan that we're about to approve tomorrow night, so.
Yeah,
we'll see.
right, yeah, so.
Yeah, it's all in different pieces, like we've said, it's hazard mitigation, open space, yeah.
So what I'm suggesting is that one of the ways so that you're not ending up wading through lots of data to find out whether it's changed much, since those questions are essentially very easy to answer, because essentially the data that was in the master plan of yesterday, meaning last year, will be the data you're going to use.
Yeah, I think that's consistent, right? Like these plans that we've just
Yeah,
finished, we
Yeah.
can just grab the stuff and put it in
right,
from there. Yeah.
right, okay.
It's all pretty much 2023 data, which is the most recent. Like 2024, they haven't, it hasn't all been aggregated yet. So I think that is fine to use that data that we have for the recent plans.
Right, so that data is probably in a form that if you need to what I'm trying to get at is if you need to get their records and their information, not out of our master plan, but from their files, what I see is she needs a relationship with them, okay? So that
Yeah,
they, don't get me wrong, but they get to recognize your bona fides, and also at the same time, you know who to talk to,
yeah,
right? Doesn't that make, I'm not,
yeah. No, that's
You know.
why we're gonna set up a meeting with Adrian.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, to kick that up.
But
Yeah.
it may be Adrian plus,
Yeah, yes.
right?
Yeah, Steve is their GIS person, he knows this is coming.
Yeah,
And we'll make
right,
sure that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, but I think if I'm following you a little bit,
Mhm.
there's some stuff that we should not have to pay for because we already paid for it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right? That's what you're
yeah,
essentially
it's,
saying,
we
right?
should
Like-
be able essentially to, if not download it, simply send a request,
Say-
please send files that, and that shouldn't, we're not looking at big, you're absolutely right.
Like, give me
patches
a
of
single
their time.
PDF of the water resource map
Yeah,
that you've
because
already done for us. a
My
year ago,
experience with them.
Yeah,
Right?
Um,
As you're
yeah.
saying.
And you should know
Same
that I
thing.
was the
Yeah.
commissioner for 10 years, so MEPC is sort of a world that I'm very familiar with, though the staff have all lost about 20 years apiece in time. But that's
Big
great.
turnover, yeah.
They're a really neat group of people. And they're not interested most of the time in sort of nitpicking about time and hours and so on. What they like to do is to sort of, which I think you want to meet with them for, is to sort of say, well, we see you got this and we could do that. And,
Yeah.
you know, to
Yeah.
have, and then there's not somebody there with a stopwatch.
No, no,
Yeah,
they'll be very supportive.
yeah. I think the sooner the better, because I think it'll give you a very good idea of where they can help you and provide stuff that you know, you may need suggestions and with. Yeah.
I was trying to find documents that the committee, you all have worked on over the last year. So, one thing is we had talked about different partner organizations that are around, and like a lot of us either currently work or used to work or are a very important volunteer for, et cetera. So, so we'd sort of started some initial outreach, but just to kind of say that, you know, for your sake, Sadie, which is there are tons of partner organizations that support open space efforts in Newbury, and almost all of them we have some kind of personal connection to. So that'll be good as, you know, as we move forward, just to be like, you know, if we need to understand something about fisheries, you know, we can make those connections with people. But I don't know if any of you have had conversations with any of the partner organizations. Maybe just feel free to like start sending. We had sort of, these guys had set up questions for just starting to engage the stakeholders and have some conversations. So I can't remember if I gave you this one or not. I'm not sure I did. Yeah. So, so that's another piece of like who the players are about pulling all this together.
Right, and so that, I think that, does that fall kind of under develop public participation program? That's scheduled events, but I mean, that's kind of the concept, because it's not a survey, so to speak, but it's engaging the public
Yeah.
and organizations, so we make them aware of what we're doing, but also get their input. So those questions I've used them and, they're great, but you don't have to follow those either, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I think it's valuable, and we should probably continue to do that. And maybe, we did set some tentative deadlines to have them done by, but those are behind us, so maybe we
Yeah.
get more serious about it now that we're getting, because I think before we were like, well, maybe we'll get MVPC to write this thing for us, and now we're like, oh, it's back in our laps, and now we gotta probably get a little bit more active and take that more seriously. So we can set that as a.
And I think a lot of the stuff the state does ask you is to like document your process very clearly and thoroughly, so that's something I think we should,
Yep.
you know, this is a great tool, and we're doing it, and we'll tell them all the good ways we're doing it, so.
Yeah.
That'll be part of what you're saying, like the program, the outreach program or participation program. I do, I don't know if it's tonight, but it is helpful, I think, to kind of think through this time frame, and we sort of, you know, at least setting forth the schedule for 6 months. Are there places that we know about or can think about where we want to go to get public awareness and engagement? Like, I mean, there's town meeting, but that's not really, I was trying to think of like, when are we gonna have, like, is there an Earth Day event, or, you know, Byfield Days? Well, that didn't happen last summer. What are the places, like, someday, I don't know, it's sort of a downtime January.
Yeah.
It's like, there's
It's a good
not a lot
time
of
to be
community events going on that I could think of, but just kind of posing that as if there are, I mean, when people need signatures because they're running for election, they go to the dump on a Saturday morning, so, you know, maybe that's a place.
They used to, I think they're not permitted to anymore, are they?
Oh,
Huh?
I
Have a
don't know.
feeling?
Oh, I think they were there.
I think they were there.
Last
Oh, well,
election
maybe
cycle.
we went through a
Okay.
period where it was no, and now it's yes,
Yeah.
maybe. It used to be much more informal when we were piling up our big pile. Yeah, I don't know. Well, okay, I mean, come on, this is PR. This is, all you have to do is look at what they do, what Greenbelt does, okay, events, what the trustees do, what any organization that wants to, okay, this is now what this wonderful engagement.
Yeah.
That's the wonderful word, right? Of engagement. Well, you know, we can either choose to do that in a very active way, or we can choose to piggyback on stuff that happens, except,
I think both is often the best.
yeah, but except, frankly, not much stuff happens. in
Well, that's
Newbury.
why I couldn't really think of
Right?
anything, at least coming up in the short term.
Yeah, I mean, we're very much a sort of summer beach kind of place,
Yeah,
in a way.
yeah.
We have whenever they are, Newbury Days, when are they? I can't remember, June,
It's-
July,
I
something
think
like
one year was
that.
June, one year was August, but yeah.
No, in fact, that's why, okay. Sorry to
happen
do
last
this,
year.
guys, but that's why I would like to see somebody here regularly from the Recreation Committee, because they are the connection point that exists. Think about it. Think about it. Easy.
For the public, you mean?
Yes.
Connection to the public.
Now, admittedly, a lot of
Yeah.
the people who end up with their feet on Mantorfield are not from Newbury,
Correct.
okay? But a lot of them
That's
are,
Mm-hmm.
and the committee is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of that's the ongoing activity, plus that's the place where people go to shoot hoops or whatever they do, play tennis or something,
Yeah.
right?
So for this public interaction or engagement then, are we envisioning like standing next to a poster with a QR code saying, and because it's gonna be quick, right? People are gonna come in and be like, we're the Open Space Committee, this is what we're trying to do, this is why open space is important, please click here and take the survey. Is that like what we're trying to accomplish?
I mean, certainly for the survey, that
Yeah.
seems like it would be the best approach.
Yeah, cause I mean, we could go out, stand at the dump, or I'm thinking tender crop, or the butchery, and just ask people when they walk by, hey, do you like open space, or whatever, do you like go hiking, and try to
Yeah.
engage people.
Everyone's got their phone right there, so
Yeah.
that's a really
Yeah.
good, yeah,
Well, it seems to me you can do both.
yeah.
You know, that's a bit like the veterans outside the supermarket, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think that's an unfortunate image in a way. I don't mean the veterans, but I know what you're saying. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I mean, I would think,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah,
My head is in, part of the problem for me, sorry to take up time, but part of the problem for me is my whole approach to this, I have realized, is totally different. My approach to this is based on essentially finding out how to achieve a good open space activity in this town based on a reasonably comprehensive and active plan, and we have never done that. We have just chewed our way through this monstrosity, and nothing has happened of any significance, with the exception of the recreation area. But in all the other areas, we've done nothing.
But why? Is it because the members of the Open Space Committee haven't taken action once the plan was in place, or the people that are supposed to use it haven't referenced it? Like, why can't, if we get, I'm thinking, I mean, I understand,
Yeah.
like, we want a good plan, so if someone says, oh, we need to do this in the town, we can say, well, people in the town might want it differently, and here it is in the plan, or,
Well, it's because, how long do you have? No,
You said 1 hour?
it part, in my estimation, you know, okay, Mike, you should jump in here because you've been involved in this a long time. But, okay, many other towns have conservation commissions who are involved in conservation. Our conservation commission is largely involved in licensing stuff on wetlands or not, as the case may be. And they have never shown any really positive, active interest in open space and conservation and that sort of area. And part of it is because this town crawls with those kind of organizations, the trustees, the Greenbelt, you know, you name it. We've got more than most towns have. And so a lot of people don't feel that there's any, I think, it's my own opinion, and so there hasn't been involved in the Conservation Commission. The Recreation Committee has had their hands full running programs for people and therefore hasn't reached out very much beyond that. I can understand that. The Select Board has shown absolutely zero leadership in this regard, etc. That's why, okay? And the one thing that would help to underpin this, okay, by creating money, which is what is kind of the dirty word here, is every time you mention the CPA, okay, everybody kind of pretends they didn't hear it or looks the other way, because somehow there is this confirmed belief among people who know that Newbury won't go for that. Well, it would strike me that the recent vote on the MBTA necessary zoning has maybe raised the question as maybe Newbury would go for that, because it's a broad tool.
Do you know much about CPA? We can talk more about it. It's a funding program that towns opt into by voting, and there's funding that comes from the state to support three things: conservation, open space, housing, and historic preservation projects. So the town, there's like a whole process between how that money comes in and then what the town can do with it. But it basically is a revenue stream for projects.
But it's a
in this
revenue-
From
town.
taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, importantly, it's a revenue stream. The town chooses how strong it is.
Right.
And there are some towns where the it's essentially an override, an overcharge, as it were, on your taxes. And there are some towns that started off with 0.5% because you could actually do that.
0.5, yeah.
There were other towns, a couple I can think of, who started off with 4 or 5% and panicked after 2 years because they got a very negative feedback from a lot of people, but at the same time ended up with quite a lot of money and not a whole much of a plan as to what they were going to do with it.
Right.
And so they lost ground because people were able to point out, well, now you have all this money. But, if I was doing this, one of the things that aggravates me is this town has been happily setting aside considerable sum, millions of dollars, $1 million plus basically a year, into a fund for capital purposes, okay? And we haven't been able to agree on building a new town hall, and so we keep putting the money aside and we keep doing zero with it. So we're making a levy of a different kind to do something that twice the town meeting and twice the town meeting has once accepted it and once no, didn't want to do it, and each time they went to the ballot it got thrown out by a very substantial margin. So, okay, that's why I think nothing has happened is because essentially I think the people haven't gotten engaged because they are quite unaware of what opportunities exist and what the town could be doing. And I think the way you do that is you have to run up a fairly big flag, up a fairly big pole.
Or engagement may be geared more towards, the other organizations that are already operating in town. That might be garnering more of the public's interest than thinking of it from a town/resident perspective, like you volunteer with the trustees or something like that, right? You're already doing a lot of active, open space work in that realm, you're not thinking about like how can, not you personally, but you're not thinking about how can I do that from a more resident, town-owned property perspective of things, like you said, we're a little bit blessed and with the amount of, open space that we have through multiple organizations working in town, it might hinder us from the open space committee's stance, because you're not starving for that, you know what I mean? Like the town's not starving for the open space like some towns were or are,
Right, no, you're right.
That might have worked against us a little bit. We got a very unfortunate letter after we did this plan update from then committees and boards that frankly told us that they felt we had enough in town and didn't see the point in supporting our plan or, the goals and recommendations in it, so I mean that, it was a little bit of a knife to the chest kind of thing, you do all this work and it's like, well,
From a town board?
yeah. I got it in my email somewhere here. I found it. I was like, oh, remember this? It was still in there. So there's been a lot of things that have affected CPA. Former town attitudes. Don't know if that's still the attitude today. Like you said, that, people passed the zoning thing, so maybe attitudes have shifted a bit. I don't know. Stop.
But anyway, that's, to me, that's the, essentially, that would be my sort of determining principle in looking at this, that it has to come. I quite honestly don't give a damn about any of that. because most of it, okay, most of the data stuff isn't changing the nature of what we're able to do or not to do. And until perhaps that is, you know, every time, well, the very fact you got that kind of
We all did.
response.
Yeah, we all got that letter.
Yeah, I mean, just unbelievable. And so that's, you know, it's a major area. I think, however, not to make this, you know, a fruitless task, because I don't think it is, but I just think that Kristen says, so how do we get visibility? How do we get people to plug in? Well, I think we need to think about doing things that are perhaps invitational, becoming something that offers programs.
Yeah, like something like the Caldwell Trail, you know, like
Yeah.
obviously timing wasn't gonna work for where we were at as the committee and when the town wanted to do it, but you know, that type of thing could have been an opportunity for us to engage the public to go and build that trail, you know, with us, you know, like the planning board, members of the committee took the initial steps to,
Yeah.
you know, have it prepped and ready, right? And then, you know, that could have been a community engagement
Well,
kind of project,
I
you know.
think it still can,
Yeah, sort of.
because,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, that's a
I was
regular-
actually thinking there are 3 trails in the last, like over the last bunch of months and going forward. There's Caldwell Farm Trail, which is begun to be built but doesn't have signage yet. We haven't sort of formally opened it yet. And then the Fieldstone
right,
off of
Oh.
Pullman Road. Why
Right,
I always
yeah.
forget the name. Fields Way, is that what that's called?
It's Fieldstone Way.
Fieldstone Way,
Fieldstone
It's
Way.
yeah.
Fieldstone
Right.
Woods is the property.
Fieldstone Woods
Yes.
is the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So there's a new trail that project was a part of a planning board subdivision as well. And then Seagate, which is across from Tender Crop, the condos,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Seagate,
Yeah.
DePiero condos.
where's that
Um,
currently?
It's,
Because you were, I don't say you, but I think there was a little bit of going on with the,
well, they're
Piero.
finalizing the conservation restriction and the baseline documentation,
Yeah.
but they built the boardwalks, they built the trail, they, I think, have established the parking area. I don't know where it is now. They're not close, the project isn't completed yet, but it's pretty close to being open and available, but we haven't had like,
well, now
we
it's,
should be celebrating all
Right,
this and having like
yeah.
a big
Okay.
party.
so is,
3 parts of town, that's pretty cool.
yeah, right, so
They're
is
sort of
our
two.
new conservation person, I can't remember whether he's a Dan or is yours is a Dan
Yeah.
and theirs is a
Mason,
Mason.
yep,
Is he involved in that?
yep, he
I
has
mean,
been.
in the, yeah, okay.
Yep, Caldwell Farm and Seagate, yeah. The other
Well,
one
you
happened
see,
beforehand. but-
It's interesting, isn't it, that it's come out of a building, a development project.
Yeah,
and-
well, I
and-
guess that's part of Newbury's story now,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, with the,
Is-
you know, the lack of a direct funding source, it's, you know, it's still a way of,
Right,
you know,
through
protecting spaces.
planning.
Yeah, through the planning, yeah, exactly, the process.
and it's also a quid pro quo kind of thing in that everybody gets a little more if they are willing to give up a little more land, you know? In
Yeah.
other words, they get an
Yeah.
extra unit if
It's
they,
a process.
yeah, it's, okay.
Yeah,
Okay, so, well, maybe,
maybe this spring we do
I was gonna
some
say,
big-
maybe that's,
Maybe it's Earth Day, people.
yeah,
That
right,
would be fun, right?
yes, yeah, I
Work
mean,
with our
maybe,
partners. and-
maybe we've got it right there.
Yeah,
The kickoff,
yeah,
right. Yeah,
yeah, that'd be great.
it might
Before everything grows up and is covered with poison ivy.
Wait a
and
minute,
ticks.
that's what you need to do the most when everything
Well,
grows up.
Yeah, but that's,
Snowshoes.
that's part of the process too,
It is.
isn't it? I
Yes.
mean, is to say to people,
Get
There-
outside, like, even
Right.
when you have to protect
and
yourself
you don't have to
from
be
ticks.
frightened, because if you understand what you do and tuck your pants into your socks and da 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 da,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, all that's right. In fact, I mean, the whole, and
I like that.
we could haul in a redo of Great Meadow,
Yep,
because Great Meadow is totally, you know, I should get you over there and we should march around that, because there are some real,
I haven't been in there in a long time.
no,
go on a,
with
go on a
upfield,
field trip.
Yeah.
Sounds
trail
good.
possibilities
Yeah, I can show you
there,
these.
just
Yeah,
minor
for
things
Sure.
that would make it a much more interesting area.
Yeah.
Okay, so, yeah,
See, we got there.
right,
You know, we did a thing at work, you know, where we called it the Greenbelt Go Getter Challenge. And
Yeah.
basically it was like, how many properties and trails can you get to and hike, and you kind of submitted your thing, and I can't remember if it was more of just like a pride prize type thing, or if we actually like gave some swag to whoever the top, you know, whoever completed all the properties or something like that,
Yeah.
but, you know, from a town-owned side, we're not, obviously, don't have that kind of inventory, but it could be, you know, stretched across other organizations as well, and spaces in town that, you know,
Yeah.
can you get to these 10 places in Newbury, and, you know, whatever it is type of thing.
yeah, and some, I mean, some of the state and federal stuff have perfectly good
Yeah.
pedestrian kinds of, yeah, you could
We just got,
build,
we just got a lot of response to it, you know, like, it was just something they came up with one day, it was like, oh, let's see, if, you know, people wanna go trudge around the county and, you know, check off these places, you know, and,
so one of the other things I thought about, our young lady who's up there in Toronto now, or wherever she is.
Yeah, Ella.
She did some stuff with the photos on the website,
Yeah,
right? Why not do, I
That's
don't know
the thing,
whether
right?
Greenbelt does, but trustees certainly do, is open up the website photo to people submitting photos.
Yeah.
Again, because that's kids love, well, in fact, families love that kind of thing, because it doesn't just have to be, you know, what shall I say, poetic shots of of the marshes or whatever, but it can be shots of people outside doing, you know, things which they enjoy doing, because that's just as much the open space area as anything else, I think. Yeah. Great.
I like it.
You're trying to change my mind, I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah, let's make it ours, you know, this should be
Because then
ours.
that feeds into what Bill asked the question about, and that is, if you've got that sort of thing going on, rather than it being the veteran with the table outside of the supermarket, it now makes much more sense to people who come to baptize the trail, as it were, to ask them, well, what do you think about, and if it's, we could do a very brief kind of thing, you know, not a survey, but, you know, 3 key questions or whatever, you know, how did you find out about it, why did you come today, and what do you think?
Mhm.
And can we have your name and email, please?
Right,
Right?
yeah. Yeah,
You know, could be fun, you
They'll
could get to
have
do
to-
this on weekends. No, but, yeah, I mean, well, no, but the other thing is, I have no idea whether you have an interest in this, but there is an active side to doing this, which I think, you know, presents itself as an opportunity for you if you're interested,
Yeah.
which, you know, is also a great learning kind of experience too,
Yeah.
frankly. Yeah.
yeah, we were
Okay,
starting to look at
I'm
the
aware I'm
maybe-
talking too much and it's 8:10 already.
I think the weight of the plan also, you know, hinders the aspirations a bit, you know, like we wanna go do all that stuff, but I feel like we also feel like we gotta get this off of our
Yeah.
our plates too, you
Well,
know what I
yeah.
mean, like it's,
Right,
That's how I feel.
yeah,
yeah,
Totally.
you know.
right.
I just wanna get this thing out of the way.
Otherwise, we should just be like the Friends of like Newbury Open Space or something like that, and, you know,
Right.
type of thing, right, you know what I mean, like, and just be like, oh, we're not
You don't
Well,
going in this
yeah.
direction and looking for this and that, you
You're
know.
right, and,
We're just
you
an
know,
active base
yeah.
group or something, you know.
Yeah, I went through this because we drew up a management plan for Old Town Hill several years ago, with the trustee staff, with some key players, including Mary Rimmer, for example, as a resident rather than, because she wasn't, I think, on the Conservation Commission at that point, but okay, she was, no, trying to think, David, her husband was working for you guys, so actually, yeah, the time wasn't there. Anyway, and that took, I think, 3 meetings, and we met of all places at the Audubon place because it was a sort of neutral territory and a public place we could meet. And we committed to the fact that once it was done, that was it, in the sense that we weren't going to go through a sort of laborious thing of trying to figure out whether we were right or wrong in 5 years. What we were going to do is do what we planned. Now, unfortunately, of course, life changed, as always does, and the administration changed, and their priorities changed. But at the same time, that plan is there as the same kind of base level in terms of what you need to plan for. And they'd never done that before. And that's what this kind of stuff is, I think.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you want open space, there's open space.
Slack.
Went away.
Your book
It's
is
like
so
space,
big.
yeah, I got it.
Where's that?
Ooh,
That's amazing.
that's pretty. Where is that?
That is the Lake District
Ah.
in England, yeah.
Alright, that's gorgeous.
With, I think, one of my nieces or nephews, a niece standing there, yes, about to plunge off a crag, I think.
Were you taking the picture, I hope?
No, sadly not. No, I haven't been there in many moons, but it's a part of the world I know very well. Yeah.
Gorgeous.
So we had
Alright.
awesome discussion. Should we make some action items for next meeting? Maybe come up with a little bit of strategy to help Sadie move forward with what she wants to do.
Yeah, did you wanted to send your edits that you made?
We could start going over text. I'd be happy to do that for us. And then,
To clarify, were you gonna send us the sections individually?
I can,
A
if
Word
that would be
document.
more something.
Yeah.
yeah, if you wanna email us,
Okay,
I'm just thinking for her and formatting and stuff like that too, like,
yeah.
if she's just given us the original to, redline and comment on, you know, at least that way, we're not giving her something in different fonts and
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
this and different that, you know.
Yeah.
sure. Okay.
Alright, so you send a section, we'll work off of that.
I think what I would find really helpful to, if you could, would be to block out who's doing what, essentially. You know, like a little block diagram that here are you and here's us and the task, so that I can know to some degree who's doing what. So that if we find something that really belongs in terms of information with someone else or someone else's thing, we can share it both with you and with Mike or Bill or whoever.
Yeah,
Okay.
that sounds good.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, a table, but a flow chart, however,
Yeah.
however your mind works. It's fine, man. That's exactly what I was thinking. As long as we have, like, you can go back and be like, oh, Mike's working on this section here or something.
Yeah, right,
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be good.
But I was just thinking too, because then we can see how those play out as time goes by, and then, and where they come together. In my head, that's how it
Yeah,
looks graphically
yeah,
anyway.
Yeah,
But whatever works for you to play with,
Yeah,
send it to us and see what we think, and we can, but I think it would be helpful.
that sounds good, I'll do that.
And then, meeting with Merrimack Valley.
Yeah,
Just-
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Let's see.
And then I'd say, if we could, I don't have the list of what organizations we said we were gonna interview.
Yeah, I have that
That's the
here.
one, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if you could share that.
should we try to,
I can also share that.
Yeah.
we can work on these, right? Like,
That's-
we still think at this point in time, this is still an appropriate process, I think.
I do.
Yeah,
I started it and I was planning to,
do you wanna check them out?
See
You
the-
can
the-
email this also, but.
yeah, I was gonna talk to you, such open space next week. So, and then we did start a Google form for entering, if we asked those questions.
Oh, yeah,
There was a Google form for filling it in that I
Yeah.
tested out, and then Jim's like, well, wait, it's not quite yet done yet. I don't know where that stands. So I don't know if we wanna continue to use that. It worked for me, but if people like to kinda go, well, I think there's a comment section where you can add more text, so at least it would create a table for Sadie, then everything's right there, and then you can pull from that.
I think it would probably be great to keep using it, cause it does document it, right, in a way that we can then make sure we grab for
Yeah.
what we submit.
And would that go like in the appendices? Or would we just incorporate that as text into our sections?
I don't know, yeah.
Cause we wanna
Both,
document.
Maybe,
Yeah. Okay, well, that's a good start, and it's gonna be in a really easy format to draw from.
so, Jim started that?
Yeah, Ellie did.
Okay. So I can connect with Jim and Ella and loop Sadie in, and then once we get a link to that Google form, we can share it out with
Yep.
you guys.
So this is a Google form for,
It's for these questions.
oh, okay.
So when any one of us is like, talking to the person at the Conservation Commission or at the trustees, and you're going through these questions, you can input your answer, and so then it just feeds it all into one big document. So we're not like transcribing our own notes for someone else kind of thing.
I think you emailed us a link to it,
Yeah,
cause I used it.
okay,
Yeah, I got it in here.
great,
November 17th,
okay. Great.
from Jim to you, CCS.
Okay. That's pretty good.
That's
I
a
think that's,
pile.
a
of
chunk.
work.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, January's and February's the month to do it, right?
yeah.
This kind of stuff.
So, usually we're meeting the third Tuesday, right?
Yeah, that's good. We have some travel coming up. So,
I think that is the day after President's Day, so that might be school vacation week. The 18th of February. I don't know when school vacation week is.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
the
it's-
President's Day week.
Week, yeah.
alright, so Christina and I are away the 11th to the 19th. So that would kick
Yeah,
in.
that's again the day after a holiday, because President's Day is the 17th.
That's right.
All right.
can people, either we can do it before the 4th, or the 25th. How far we cover those two Tuesdays?
I might not be here on the 4th.
Or you guys can meet on 18th, that just, we won't be here, that's all.
So, I mean, we could just pen in that third Tuesday
Yeah.
to keep it there. I mean, there's a lot of kind of individual work on the agenda too, so I mean, if, you know, if a physical meeting doesn't necessarily make sense,
Yeah.
I think you know what I'm trying to say there, you know, like, it's just, I mean,
It's
not gonna have all of it
possible.
done by the 18th.
No, it's possible,
You know.
on Zoom in, but,
Yeah, but if you're on vacation, you're on vacation, yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I might be,
yeah.
like, at a
Yeah.
beach bar or something.
My time,
Yeah,
you know.
it probably might not.
I love
I'll be
this so
pissed. You know.
Yeah, I bet I did.
So maybe the 20th, we just go with the 25th.
We'll zoom into wherever you are. 25th?
Yeah,
I think, I mean, unfortunately, we should still try to recruit some more members, so we're
Yeah.
not as tied to, but you do still need three members to be a quorum, to hold a meeting.
What
Two
happened to
two
Jim?
people can meet, but,
What happened to Jim?
Not an official member yet.
right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did he, I mean, that's puzzling to me as to why he comes but won't sign up.
Yeah,
But maybe I should just call him up and hammer lock his arm up his backside. I don't know. Anyway, what about the two guys who turned up out of the blue?
yeah,
The
Last
one-
week,
We can
or
invite
last
them.
meeting,
Yes.
one was named
Caldwell.
Bill Sargent. He used to be in West Newbury. He was on their open space committee, I think. I remember him saying that. I don't remember the other gentleman's name.
I don't think it was Bill Sargent.
No?
Isn't he the beach guy that writes about erosion? He's a
Yeah.
Ipswich guy. I have their names
Yeah.
somewhere. I've,
Well, I mean, I don't know. Was it a weird coincidence they came because of the Cornwell thing, or not? I mean, did they come because of the
the
Cornwell
two
thing?
people who stayed after
Yes.
most of the Caldwell people left, one was a resident of Caldwell. He was, I think, the guy who used to live in West Newbury, and he
Yeah.
talked about how he moved there because
Okay.
of open space. The other guy I have connected with about trails.
Oh yes,
And
I
I
remember you saying.
invited him to the open space committee. He had nothing to do with the Caldwell
Uh-huh.
Trail. We were talking about border to Boston
Right.
and other stuff. So,
He contacted you about trails. I seem to remember. Yes.
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 Yep. Yeah.
In what sort of frame?
Border to Boston.
Oh, we wanted to know what.
We've just had several conversations about different things, and I said, maybe you're interested in coming to an open space committee meeting. And he came. So we can circle back and say, you know, hey, we're looking for
Yeah, I
members.
mean, is he is he somebody who has a shovel in mind, as it were, you know, and wants to work on trails, or does he want to sit and pontificate just like me about trails?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, so maybe we need to ask him. If you give me his name and information, I'm happy to do that.
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. I don't have it right here.
No,
I'll
no,
have to look
okay,
up
but
the
why don't you
email.
send me that, and I'll, you know, because on the pretext that I was the chair of, it was nice to see him, et cetera, and,
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
okay.
good. Okay.
But I think we need, is Mary chair of the Conservation Commission?
No,
Vice chair, I think.
blanking on his name.
Bob Connors
Bob
is
Connors is the
chair.
chair, I believe.
Oh, okay, all right. well, I need to look at a list and think, but
Yeah,
you know, they need somebody, we need somebody from that commission, because it would make it's ridiculous, really is. I mean, I was embarrassed when I went to this open space thing that Greenbelt put on, okay, to find out that nearly every open space committee represented there had a mandatory list of people who were on the committee, and they all had someone from the Conservation Commission, someone from the, and they served, they came.
mm-hmm. Well, I mean, I don't know if that conversation's ever been had, but it certainly can be revisited with the current Conservation Commission. I feel like the planning board does that, like the planning board has a member who also serves on the commission, on the Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's like 2 meetings every 2 weeks.
That's what I
It's
was
a
worried
big
about.
commitment.
Yeah.
And I think it's hard to get people to do one committee, let alone 2. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No,
but
no, no, I
think
know
it's
what you're saying, but we
just
meet
hard.
once a month, for God's sake, and I'm not suggesting
Right.
they have to be, but
Yeah, connected.
there was...
Outside of staff, other connections.
Yeah,
or-
you know, and if they were,
Yeah.
if that person is deputized to be knowledgeable about what they're doing, what we are doing,
Yeah,
so that when
That's
it
helpful.
comes time, you know, and if they can come to a meeting every so often, it's, you know,
yeah. Yeah.
because, you know, it's one of those things where people want to serve on committees and they want all the, you know, whatever it is, whatever it is you have from being a member of a committee, and they don't want to do any work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, let's keep thinking.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have some, you know, geographic diversity, gender diversity,
Maybe
all
I'll
those
talk to
good
Mary and
things.
see what she thinks.
Yeah.
Is there any sense to at least forward someone on the conservation committee, have a point person, so they don't even have to attend, but at least
Yeah.
we send them meeting minutes and stuff, say, hey, this is what we've been working on.
Right.
Just to keep them, so they're aware,
Yeah,
and if they read it.
And vice versa, so if it's something comes up in
Yeah.
the Conservation Committee that we should be aware of and maybe have
Yeah.
an opinion about, or little input to, you know, it's just that they don't, if a committee doesn't think in those terms, they
yeah,
don't tend
it's
to
a
do it.
shift, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, Mason's great. I'm happy to talk to Mason, but I would not be opposed to anyone reaching out to the chair or vice chair.
well, also, I
One
mean,
of you, like
yeah.
peer-to-peer, volunteer-to-volunteer kind of thing.
yeah, I think I can reach out to Mary to kind of sound her out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know Mary too,
Yeah.
I'm friends with Dave.
Yeah, so,
Either
you
way.
know, and she's good because she's sort of, she will hold her cards to her chest and, you know, but at the same time will, I think, be very honest about looking at that difficulty.
Yeah.
Because it is a difficulty.
Yeah.
The one
Right.
person that we lost is Dan Streeter, unfortunately, because he's no longer on the commission. And, because he was very instrumental in the past.
I think we said the 25th, right, for the next meeting?
Yeah.
Unless we
Pending avail.
change our mind.
Space availabilities or
Yeah,
anything, I'm sure we have
okay.
to check on, right?
Okay, yeah.
You think the 25th's not the 18th?
I think that you would not have a quorum on the 18th, is
Oh.
what I heard. Because Bill and
Okay,
Christine
oh,
are
all
not
right,
available.
that's, all right.
And yeah, that actually would be better, because we have public hearings on February 19th, so. Anyway, it's just,
Mhm.
doesn't matter. It's all good. Monday, holidays, sometimes everything piles up.
They do.
Yes, it does.
Do.
Okay, so, we're good.
Okay.
What else?
So community member updates, we hit back at. Everybody agreed?
Yeah.
I'd like to
Right.
move to adjourn.
Second,
You.
Yep.
all in favor?
Aye.
8:32.
Okay.